Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Kia Simone, and we got to get into episode 6 of Love and Marriage Huntsville. But before we do, I want to have a quick conversation. So shout out to Scotty by Nature, who posted a status that he tagged me in saying that he's basically done reviewing this show. And to be perfectly honest, I understand. This show has become quite difficult to review. Like, first of all, when this show started, I was interested in the show because it had subject matters and storylines that were familiar to me. And those subject matters and storylines and the characters even were authentic and genuine. And now the one word that consistently comes to mind for me about this show is contrived. And you couple that with the toxic energy that this show generates, and it gets to be too much. It's taxing, and nobody wants to deal with that, especially to be a source of entertainment. But it's gotten to a point where it's hard to deliver entertaining or enjoyable conversation when it's just not entertaining or enjoyable. It's hard to watch, it's hard to review, it's hard to discuss, and who wants to do that? Like, who just wants to be miserable for the sake of being miserable? So I said all that to say, first of all, I totally understand Scotty and many others who have made the same decision. Now, I'm not telling y'all that I'm just gonna stop reviewing the show now, but this is low-key a 2 weeks notice, okay? Like, I have the desire to review other shows, and I find myself not producing anything because I'm drained about this. Like, I'm thinking about, I don't want to do this show. Then I gotta sit down and do this show, and I gotta get through watching this show, and I don't want to deal with this bullshit no more. So we're definitely gonna get through this season, but this is probably gonna be the last season. I enjoy bringing y'all content that y'all enjoy. And in order to do that, I have to be happy. I have to be my best me. I have to be my truest me. And I'm not being my truest me when I'm literally laboring against myself to review this show. One thing I'm going to always do is be true to who I am, true to what I believe, and I'm going to speak my mind, okay? That's not going to change. I don't care what we doing. I don't care what we reviewing. I don't care what we talk about. That ain't gonna change. But I do realize that I've arrived at a place where I have to take control and do what makes me happy. And this ain't it. So I love y'all, and I really do hope that y'all understand, but yeah, that's the move. That's just something I wanted to get off my chest. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That concludes this PSA. I feel lighter already. Now let's go ahead and get into the episode. So the episode opens up with Melody stopping by Tiffany's house. Now, y'all know I will drag Tiffany to hell in a heartbeat, but one thing I have to give Tiffany, even though I talked absolute cash about her planning this pregnancy, is she is an absolutely beautiful pregnant woman. She's so adorable. She just carries so well. So Mel says she came over to Tiffany's house to invite her to this tea that she's planning, and they sit down to talk and start catching up about life. Tiffany asked Mel how she's doing. She said she's good, but busy. Tiffany said, well, when are you not busy? She said, well, I'm always busy, which is why I was excited about the spa day. Mel said, but when she heard all the cursing and the F-bombs and B-bombs, she said, oh no, I worked too hard to be associated with this. I said, now, is this the same lady who was yelling and cursing and carrying on, hanging off the side of her Jeep in the Weavesville parking lot? Is that her? She said, I was wondering, is this really what we want to give off? And so I was wondering, what could I do to get us to a place where we could communicate? And even if we disagree, we can do it respectfully. So she planned a tea party. Tiffany said, oh, great, another group event. Mel said, don't worry, we're going to have a referee. She got a whole etiquette coach coming. A lady named Miss Carol out of Atlanta is going to come and help them remain civilized. Mel said, so we're going to wear really cute hats and dresses. So what do you think? Tiffany said, I think it's a great idea. I just hope everybody actually comes with an open mind, because when I left the spa that day, I left with high blood pressure and low self-esteem because Keke stressed me the hell out. She said, I feel like basically I stooped to her level. Like, I came down to meet her where she was at, and I shouldn't have done that. She said, but I was surprised to see you there at all. I mean, the last I knew, Mel and Tisha weren't in a good place, and now, oh, look, Mel's here for Tisha. Mel said, yeah, and you know, I did recently invite her to Mariah's birthday party because our girls actually used to be close. Tiffany said, oh, okay, well, did Martell come? She said, yeah, uninvited. Mel explained that she allowed Mariah to call Martell about 15 minutes before the birthday party because she wanted to give him the opportunity to tell her happy birthday. Well, he asked to speak to Mel and said, so Mel, you not going to invite me to the birthday party? party, I'm not allowed to come? She said, I said, Martell, you're not invited. And Martell said, so you got all these other people invited, but the dad isn't invited? And I said, click, I'm not doing this with you. She said, after the party, when they got home, she said, okay, Mariah, go ahead and call your dad so you can go hang out with him. She said they called him and she pulled out her phone to play a recording of the conversation. The recording starts at Mariah, who sounds like she's crying. I don't know if she's crying in the conversation or not, but she sounded like her voice was cracking. And she said, so Dad, you're not going to come get me today? And he said, no, Mariah, I'm not going to come get you today. I'm going to come get you Monday. Then you hear Mel step into the conversation and she says, so you're not going to get her today? And he said, I'm going to get her on Monday, Melody. In the recording, she starts laughing and that's where it ends. So Mel explains to Tiffany that the reason she was laughing is because it was funny to her. Because he came to the skating rink, she said, and you were outside for 20, 30 minutes carrying on about, I should be able to have her on her birthday. Tiffany said he acts like, no, it's Mel. And she said, no, Martell is very manipulative. And there's a reason I move the way that I move. She said, and I wish I had had my children by a man, not a queen, but a man. Now, let me tell you, I know a whole lot of y'all gonna disagree with me, and it is what it is. I think it is absolutely abnormal and absurd that these parents record conversations of sensitive moments with their children to play for the public. That your children are nothing more than pawns in your game to destroy each other. I'm sick of it. And then the question I have is, if she was telling him at the skating rink that this year isn't your year, was Martell always supposed to pick this child up after the skating rink? Or did this become the plan after he tried to attend the skating rink party? Mel says she's looking forward to the tea because the tea might actually help her with that. It might help her with communicating with the narcissist and an asshole. So then we move on to Maurice and Kimmi's house, where Kimmi's at home cooking. Maurice comes in the kitchen to sit down and they're catching up about Monster. Maurice said he needs to get Monster into his homework, and Kimmi said, I need to get Monster into a clean room. Kimmi said, I got to get something figured out with this. Maurice said, so you tell him to clean the room and he just doesn't do it? She said, exactly. Maurice said, so you tell him to do something and he just openly defies you and you just take it? Ain't she telling you? Kimmi said, is that what you think I'm doing? And in the confessional, she said, you're giving me a hard time about enforcing the rules with Monster when you're having a hard time enforcing the rules your damn self. Maurice said, well, we have the same struggle. I mean, I'm having trouble with Monster. You're having trouble with Monster. But I mean, at least I'm trying. Kimmi said, when I tell him to do something and he doesn't listen to me, it's for you to step in and say, didn't she ask you to do such and such? Why haven't you done such? That's your job. He said, I mean, it's not like I don't back you up. She said, that's exactly what I'm saying. Maurice said, no, what it is you made the rule, but you want me to enforce it. Mother, what? You made the rule, but you want me to enforce it about telling your son to clean his room is some wild shit to me. You know, the first thing I wondered, does Maurice not believe his son should be cleaning his own room? Because remember, Kimmi always had the complaint that she wasn't getting a lot of support domestically in the house, that she married this man who had this gender roles mentality about what a woman should be doing in the house. And so all the cooking and cleaning and everything falls on her, but there's one of her and there were 3 men in the house at the time. So is Maurice not wanting to enforce this because he feels like she should be cleaning up behind him? Like, you should go clean his room. Like, what do you mean? Kimmi said, the thing is, Maurice, as the bonus parent, there's a limit on what I'm gonna do. And I think he knows that. And in the confessional, Kimmi said, there's always a fine line when you're disciplining other people's children. And Maurice is upset because she's saying it's other people's children and is challenging her like, so he's not your son? No, that's not it. Like, let's be for real. As a third parent added to an equation, there is a limit on exactly what you can and will do in terms of disciplinary action. Maurice has this hands-off approach to parenting, and it's like he basically wants to push all the responsibility on Kimmi and just wants to, he's just there. The step parent can't step over you and be more parent than you. You have to show up. Kimmi goes on to explain to Maurice in the confessional that as his biological parents, your and Kiowa's rules are going to overshadow mine. So If you don't have any requirements for him, and then I come with a whole checklist, he gonna tell me and my checklist to go to hell. So then Maurice makes it Kimmi's fault. He said, well, I think this started when you were having problems with Kiowa. And I think you kind of created a monster because you kind of decided to be hands off with the discipline. Maurice said, do you disagree with that? She said, yes, I do. Because you're trying to make it sound like my issue with reprimanding him is Kiowa, when my issue is with you. Maurice said, well, this is what I want to do. I want to call Kiowa. And he proceeds to FaceTime Kiowa. Kimmi said, I'm not sure why you're calling her. He said, because, man, this shouldn't even be an issue. Exactly. You are the issue. So to deflect from your accountability as a parent, what you're going to do is you're going to call Kiowa and drag her into this conversation, and you're going to sow these seeds of discord, and you're going to remind them that they had this issue so that they can focus on this problem and not the fact that you're the problem. Okay. So as the phone is ringing, because he don't give a damn, Kimmi is explaining to him the issue is that I shouldn't have to ask you to back me up when I ask him to do something and he doesn't do it. And as soon as he gets Kiowa on the phone, he explains that, yeah, Kimmi and I were just talking. We're talking about monster and discipline. And, you know, I'd actually rather Kimmi explain it to you. What? Kimmi said, I don't know what you want me to say because you wanted to make the phone call. Maurice said, no, but you have an issue with disciplining monster because of how you think Kiowa would feel. Why would you sit up here and just lie on that lady like that? Kimmi said, no, I don't. And I really need you to stop saying that sentence. I really don't appreciate you saying it that way. Kimmi, let me tell you something. I'm all for respecting your man and all that. But this is why he be playing with you. I ain't telling you you got to jump from baby talk to dog walk. But you got to put some bass in your voice with this mouth. Because you just lie on the woman. He is demonstrating that he will literally run you over and lie on you to your face. She said, so he asked me, why didn't I become more heavy in terms of discipline? And my thing was, well, you can do that. The daddy can do that. And people don't like when you discipline their kids. That's when Maurice jumps in and says, well, that's where his issue is. And he asked Kiowa, he said, you know, do you feel like Kimmi has gotten to a point where you trust her to discipline monster? Kiowa said, yeah, I've absolutely gotten to a point where I trust her to discipline him, but I also understand what she's saying, and I appreciate that she's concerned about what I think and feel about how she handles my child. Maurice says, so would you be okay with Kimmi treating monster like she treats Jalen? She said, no, I would not be okay with her disciplining him in a way that I would discipline him. Kimmi said, that's exactly what I said to you. He said, well, guys, we're just gonna agree to disagree on this. What do you mean? So Maurice tries to end the call. He said, well, thank you, Kiowa. We appreciate your input. Yeah, you seem pretty neutral in the matter. Kimmi said, hell no, she ain't. She ain't neutral at all. She made her position very clear. I think it's extremely unfair, especially when Maurice fought as hard as he did to have the child move in with them, for him to be this hands off. Like, this situation puts Kimmi in a catch-22 as a step parent, because either she's going to have a problem with you about trying to make the child do the right thing, or she's going to have a problem with the child about trying to make the child do the right thing, but then you're not going to have her back about trying to make the child do the right thing. It puts you in a real rock and hard place predicament, because there is but so much that you can do as a step parent. And you put me in a position to be the bad guy when I'm trying to have order in our home and you won't back me up. So now I'm public enemy number one in my own house. Like, who wants to live like that? I think it's extremely unfair. But anyway, we move on. We see Kiki and Stormy getting together at some Reiki shop. They going to cleanse their energy or something. I don't know. They sit down and meet with the Reiki healer lady, and she's explaining to them that she's a child of God. She believes in prayer and prays on and over everything. And Kiki asked the lady how she get to be a child of God. The lady just looked at her like, what? Kiki said, you know, I was told you don't mix the crystals and the chakras and stuff with God because, you know, it's blasphemous and it's against the will of God. The lady said, well, I would tell you and anybody else who believes that they didn't read the Bible thoroughly. Keke said, yeah, her pastor might not like this, but don't knock it till you try it. So the lady is reading their energy. She tells Stormi how she has a beautiful heart and she moves on purity, and Stormi gets emotional. She tells her that people don't understand her because energetically she's on another level. The lady started reading Keke energy. She told her, watch your words, because you can speak things into existence. Your words have power. And Keke's in the confessional, my words do have power. And that's why with my words, I want to uplift and motivate, and girl, get out of our face. So the lady wraps up the session and Keke and Stormi sit down to talk. Keke said normally she's really skeptical about stuff like this, but she likes the kind of person that Stormi is. Girl, weren't you and this lady just hollering at each other in them people's spa? Keke says she actually thinks she and Stormi have like personalities. That's why she couldn't really argue back with her at the spa. She said, you kept hitting me with stuff left and right. And I said, girl, I can't even be mad at that. No, you can't be mad at that because you need that. I need somebody to curse and carry on with me so I can get some more camera time. So I said, people get upset because I curse and I talk a certain way, but I think you knew it wasn't to be mean or offensive. Keke said, yeah, and I think I understand because that's the way I am. Stormi said, well, yeah, at least they don't call you ghetto. Keke said, girl, please, they're going to say anything they want to say. They say I'm from the other side of the track, so what's that? She said, who cares? You know you're not ghetto. I said, I know that's right. Keke said she's the type of person that likes to discuss things and get things out in the open so that you can come up with a resolution and figure out how to move forward. But for some reason, she is stuck on Tiffany. She said that she was not really satisfied with the way the conversation went with Tiffany at the spa, and she's hoping that she can sit down and have a conversation with her without yelling and cursing and dragging her. Stormi said, I'm sure you can because she's pregnant. Keke said, I feel like if you want people to respect the fact that you're with child, then don't put stuff out like that while you're pregnant. So out of nowhere, Stormi decides to share with Keke that she was telling her husband, Courtney, that Tiffany needs to stop arguing with Keke because she doesn't want her baby to come out looking like Keke. What? Stormi said, that's what the old people used to say back in the day. So I don't know, it could be a thing. Keke said, yeah, that is what they say, but it would be an amazing thing for her if her baby came out looking like me. Stormi just looked at her. Stormi is low-key mean as like, how do you shade somebody to their face like that? She don't want her baby to come out looking like you. Girl, what? And Keke just as simple. She right there, just Keke and right with her. But that's where desperation will get you, where you let people disrespect you just so you can be down. So then we move on and we see Maurice and Martell meeting at Maurice's office that he's renovating. And they have a whole meeting about nothing, child. So once again, Martell is at this construction site in a full suit. And Maurice is telling him how good he looks. And Martell is saying, yeah, everything is coming together. Everything's coming full circle. I'm looking good, feeling good. My credit's good. My finances good. And Maurice is telling him, yeah, last time I checked, your scores were up. And I'm just wanting to be a big brother and stay on top of you. And we don't give a damn. Maurice explained that it matters because he understands. He's been through divorce. He knows what it's like. And Martell said, well, speaking of divorce, Maurice said, yeah, how's it going? It's going down. Martell said, as far as the kids, everything is good, but between he and Mel, it's a different story. So Martell is telling Maurice what happened, that he showed up at the skating rink. She's telling him, you can't be here. She threatened to call the police. Maurice is shocked. He was like, well, what led up to that? Why? He said, were y'all arguing? Like, what led up to that? And he said, no, we went back and forth a little bit, but, nothing like that. Maurice said he ain't got no advice. He said, all I got for y'all is prayer. I'ma definitely pray for y'all because can't nobody but God help y'all. And he said, and you don't want a situation where it's noticeable to the kids. This is bad. So Martell asked him, well, how are things going at home? He said, Kimmy's doing better. And he asked him, how's Monster? And he said, well, I'm trying to figure out something in terms of motivation right now. Like, all you got to do is clean your room, make good grades, and behave yourself. And Martell said, well, does he at least clean his room in the morning? Maurice said no. Maurice said he looks at his son through his eyes, and sometimes he's envious of him and the position that he's in, and he wonders, where would I be if I had the start that he has? Martell said, probably the same place or worse. Maurice said, you think? He said, yeah, a lot of spoiled kids can be worse. Maurice said, I'm trying to figure out what motivates him because, I've tried punishment because sometimes taking something away will motivate you to do better to get it back. But in his case, I take his phone and he just adjusts. Maurice said, what do you think is going to happen if you go out into society and break society's rules? It's not going to be just go in time out for a minute. And then he starts telling the story about how he had a dog named Peaches that used to run off every time he would tell the dog to come here. And one day he told the dog to come here and it ran off and got hit by a car. And he doesn't want his son to be that dog and society to be that car. He said, I don't want society to run over my son when you should have heeded discipline. Martell said, right, that's why you got to take care of it now. Maurice has all this philosophy about parenthood with no application. Martell said he's about 15. Maurice said, yeah, he's 15 going on 16. Martell said, yeah, I was bad as hell at that age. She said, I was beating up people, going to alternative schools, all kinds of shit. Maurice said, well, what was your turning point? What helped you change? He said sports and ROTC. Basically, those organizations offered the structure that he didn't have at home. Martell said that helped him to develop this self-motivation that he still has today. Maurice said, well, we just gonna have to accept that we ain't gonna never have it all the way together. So just how in the hell did you just arrive at there's just nothing we can do, we'll just never have it together? I mean, listen, I understand that we have to accept that perfection is essentially a figment of your imagination. Nobody will be perfect. But I feel like this is more this philosophy that Maurice is embracing to comfort him in neglecting his duties as a parent. So we move on and we get to the tea that Melody is hosting. Tisha's in the confessional saying that her being at this tea is really demonstrating that she and Mel and this group are trying to move forward. No, it's demonstrating y'all trying to still put a show together because y'all need y'all check. So we see all of the ladies arriving at this tea, and the last to arrive is Stormi with her +1, who is her mom. She said, now we all know that her mom has had her issues with Mel, but she's hoping that by bringing her to this tea party, they'll be able to air it out and move on. So Mel brought up the spa day and how everybody was basically out of line and out of pocket. And the etiquette coach steps in to explain that etiquette, by her definition, is about how you make people around you feel. Stormi said, well, I'm glad that you brought that up because I curse a lot. Stormi said, so what do you do in regard to that? The etiquette coach said, well, just know that there's always someone watching you who's looking up to you. Stormi said, well, I be wanting to tell them that it's okay to say what you want to say. And so the etiquette coach said, well, when we use curse words, it means that we're lacking vocabulary. Well, Stormi said, I don't agree with that. And I personally don't agree with that either. I've actually heard throughout the years that people who curse a lot tend to be more honest people, but some people really do just like curse words. I can attest that there are people that are not lacking in vocabulary, not lacking in the ability to express themselves. They just enjoy colorful language. Now, the issue for me becomes that there's a time and place for everything. So the etiquette coach kind of pushed back to say, well, when you're feeling a certain way and you're using curse words to express your feeling, it's, I guess, because you have a lack of vocabulary to express how you feel. Stormi said, no, not really. I just like them. I just feel like curse words are my words. Like, if I see a shirt and I like that shirt, I'm going to say that's a nice motherfucking shirt. Miss Carol was done. She said, look, all I can tell you is we're representing ourselves. And if that's how you want to represent yourself, and if that's what people know you for, and that's how you roll, and that's how you roll, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Leave me alone. Well, Miss Nell, she was over the bullshit. Miss Nell piped up and said, can we get to the real meat of the issue here? Because I ain't put on my good suit for this. And sidebar, when I tell y'all, Nell looks so much like my grandmother in that scene, I had to rewind this scene 1,000 times. From the hat she had on, the suit she was wearing, the way that brim was tilted. I mean, she reminded me of my grandmother. She is such a beautiful lady. And this is something my grandmother would be doing. Getting to the bottom of the issue. We got to figure this out. Put it all on the table because we ain't doing this. She said, can we get to the bottom of what is the real issue in this group of women? Mel said, I know mostly all of y'all in here and I can tell that there's still an energy. Mel said, what kind of energy you feel? She said, well, I feel an energy between you and Stormi. So somebody at the table asked, well, let me ask you, do you think the energy is between Mel and Stormi or between Mel and Stormi's mother? Mel said, well, I don't know Stormi's mother. Stormi's mother said, well, that would be me. She said, yeah, there was a little something. Mel said, well, what was there between me and you? She said, well, something that happened on social media. Stormi said, oh, Betty, you're just going to go for it. Mel said, on social media between me and you? So out of nowhere, Stormi's mama said, yeah, because somebody else is talking that ain't got nothing to do with it. Nails, excuse me, I'm sorry, say that again. Miss Betty piped down a little bit. She said, I was just saying that someone else was talking that didn't have anything to do with the situation. Miss Nails said, I didn't say I had anything to do with the situation, ma'am. Listen, let me tell you something. When they start putting them ma'ams and darlings and things on the end, you about to get cursed out. So Stormi jumps in to say, well, Nail, I think she will speak, but I think that requires you not to. She said, just because you may or may not be privy to anything, and that's okay. Nell said, yeah, that is okay. I'm a big girl. I'm okay with that. And see, that's something else my grandmama would have done. She'd have took the high road, but I'm trying to find me a map to get to the high road because I'd have told Stormi off. Because your mama can air her grievances, and rightfully so. But you think you just gonna be talking to other people, mama, all kind of way, girl, who you playing with? You know what I can tell? Stormi mama ain't never told her she ain't one of her little friends. That's what it is. That's why you playing with this lady like this. So the etiquette coach steps in to remind Stormi that, yeah, when you were talking, she said, yeah, I know, she let me speak. I just didn't want to forget. So you just gonna cut everybody off. All right. And that's what the etiquette coach told her. She said, well, that's still rude. Mel starts explaining that, well, when we were at the reunion on the stage, I was asked a question about you. And in response, I said that I felt like Stormi represents what Love and Marriage Huntsville is. And that's not something I would say about somebody that I have a problem with. Mel said, now in regard to Miss Betty, I knew that she had something to say, but I didn't know that there was an issue. So I would like to be privy to what the issue is. Miss Betty said the issue is this whole thing about a secret recording. And of course, Stormi is in the confessional explaining the issue where Mel went online. She tweeted and did a live that somebody had a secret recording of her that they were playing for Martell. Miss Betty said people took that and ran with it, saying it was Stormi, and at any time you could have come forward and said that it wasn't, and you didn't. Mel said, I'll be honest, Miss Betty, people say a lot about me all day, every day, but I mean, I can apologize if you were offended by a tweet that I posted. I'm sorry. Now, I don't know if this was the sequence of words that came out of Stormi's mother's mouth or if they edited it this way. But in response to Mel saying, well, I can apologize if you were offended by a tweet that I did, she said, well, let me shut you down about that. Shut up. Stormi, why you don't get your mama? She said, my direct problem with you is how you do things. Miss Betty said, I don't mind people talking about me. I don't care what people got to say about me, but I got a problem when people try to diminish what my daughter's done. And you had the chance to come in and say, no, she didn't do it. And even when you did come back and apologize, you said the person who was in my home a few days ago. You never said Stormi. Mel said, but that was after everybody was running with the story, assuming that it was Stormi, right? She said, yeah, but you left it so ambiguous that people could still run with it and say, well, she didn't say it wasn't Stormi. So Melody said, well, once again, I apologize that that tweet offended you. I didn't realize that we had an issue. And Keke jumps in. So Keke starts in, but she has some grievances she would like to air. And she turns to Tiffany about, there are just some lies that I can't get with. What the hell are you trying to do? Mel said, no, now we can't talk like that. We have to be pretty. Keke said, yeah, you're right. So what are you trying to do? Tiffany said, when Tisha came to my house, all I told Tisha was, I like everybody. I get along with everybody. I protect my energy. I don't entertain a bunch of bullshit. Now that's a damn lie, but go ahead. That's her way of letting Keke know the category that you fall into is bullshit. Keke said, no, you don't entertain bullshit, you just spew it. Tiffany explains that what she explained to Tisha is that if she will say all kinds of things about you and throw you under the bus, then I'm quite sure she would do it to me. And so I don't know that I want to extend myself to get to know her based on how I've seen her treat you. And that's all I have to go off of because I'm not in community with her. She said, I don't have her number. We don't text. We don't communicate. I just know of you and I know of your family. So Keke starts, we never have to speak. And I'm absolutely okay with that. Then what is the point of this conversation? Keke said, let me educate you on what it means to know of someone. Tiffany said, I don't need no damn education. She said, clearly you do. Keke starts going off about knowing of someone as someone you've never met, you don't know, you haven't had a conversation with, but I have had many in exchange with you. You are so desperate to be known and claimed is sick and sad. Keke said in the confessional, my son actually played for her husband's baseball team, so I don't know why she's so obsessed with Lying. So you signed your son up for a team, you paid some dues, and you think y'all friends. Kiki's at the table going in on Tiffany about how she met her mom and one of her in-laws, and they had a conversation for an entire game. You out your natural mind. Now, Tiffany is sitting there silent and smug, just letting this girl make an absolute fool of herself because nobody could do a better job. Kiki said, you also said every time you meet me, I introduce myself to you as someone else's friend. And that is not true. Like, you have the grievances of a 14-year-old. Like, get out of here. Tiffany said, what I said is that every time you show up, you introduce yourself as Mel's friend, but you're Tisha's cousin. Kiki said, absolutely. She said, yeah. So you should be showing up as Tisha's cousin and representing your family as such. Tiffany said, listen, I do know of you. I've seen you at baseball games. I know that your child played on Lewis's team for a short period of time. I know that our kids have mutual friends, but I don't know you. Kiki said, who are you kidding? I went on a whole crusade with you to help you find your father. Tiffany said, first of all, I don't know nothing about no crusade, much less a follow-up. She said, Mel and I went looking for my father. And when Mel planned a surprise follow-up meeting, you were there. And we saw some unseen footage of the three of them sitting at a table. And Kiki is telling Tiffany that she knows someone who is from this part of Alabama that knows all about the families that might be able to help her. And that constitutes a whole relationship. Tiffany said, yeah, and there was no communication beyond that moment. Kiki said, no, but I reached out to you to let you know that I had resources to try to help you find something that was dear to you. Now, the etiquette coach must have realized this girl hand wrapped too tight. So she went over to Tiffany and said, I think we need to calm down. You're pregnant, honey. Tiffany said, I'm fine. She's a fool. So both Kimmi and Tiffany said, did you follow up? Did you call her after? Kiki is angry and defensive. Did she? It's her daddy, not mine. And out of nowhere, she says, and by the way, yes, I've always known who my dad was. When I tell you, I'd have tore her ass up without getting up. When I tell you they'd have been sweeping her feelings up off the floor, I was going to drag that mother. The first thing I'd have told her half is, I don't give a damn that you know your daddy when he couldn't stop your ass from being Wanda and Holiday Heart. If your daddy couldn't keep you off the booger sugar, and your daddy couldn't keep you from robbing people's cabinets blind, I don't give a damn. See, that's why I'm looking for that map my grandmama had for the high road. Everybody was utterly shocked. Why would you throw in this woman's face that I know who my father is? What does it matter if this is what he raised? So the etiquette coach stepped in. Now, ma'am, I don't know if you got you a Foot Locker uniform or anything in the back, but they gonna need them a referee. She stepped in and told Kiki to take a breath. She said, this is a beautiful moment. Sometimes we get tense and we can't relax, but you're beautiful. Kiki said, thank you, girl. She said, so you want your aura and your energy to reflect that. So even when you're talking to someone, all it takes is saying, I feel like I was lied to, and I don't like the way that that made me feel. Period. She said, then it's up to Tiffany to respond. She can express herself and say, well, you know, I didn't lie. And rather than roaring, you can just point by point express how you feel. She said, this is where the ladylike part comes in, and this is where you get into communication. The coach said, and then you threw in a low blow and said, at least I know who my daddy is. Kiki said, no, I didn't say that. You stealing the wrong medicine. Because your ass is crazy. What do you mean you didn't say that? Kiki said, all I said was that I do know my dad, but that's not a dig at her dad. Kimmi said that's absolutely a dig. And Kiki is acting like everybody else is crazy. No, that wasn't a dig. Kimmi said, hear me when I tell you that that was a dig. And if that wasn't a dig, it was horrible. The etiquette coach said, you don't think that could have been hurtful? She said, you know, I feel like sometimes as Black women, we try our hardest to hurt each other. That was clearly hurtful. Kiki said, no, I wasn't trying to hurt her. That wasn't a dig. Okay, it came off as a dig towards you. And I apologize because that's not what I meant. Kimmi said no. Like, you not gonna throw the rock and then offer that half apology while you hide your hand. No, ma'am. And so Mel jumps up. Well, I'm so glad y'all cleared that up. I'm glad y'all got it clear that Kiki didn't mean it. She didn't mean to be offensive. I think there were a lot of great things that we learned here tonight. So Now, while all this shit done going down, Tisha sat in absolute silence. When Tisha said she was coming to sip tea and not spill tea, she meant that shit. Tisha said Keke will be a damn fool by herself. Ain't no family tonight. So the episode comes to an end with Mel wrapping up the tea by saying we are all human, we are all growing, and we're not perfect. That's just the way it's gonna be. So basically, they're right back where they started. And it looks like next week there's gonna be a whole roundtable confrontation where Tiffany is supposedly in the middle of a bunch of mess between Stormi, Keke, and Tisha. But I'm just trying to figure out why not. Like, this girl been here for 2 seasons, just starting left and right. And now when the girl big and pregnant, everybody want to fight. And since Martell has made his appearance in Atlanta, Sheree is going to be returning the favor. They done got her money in order, so we going to see her down here next week. But that's it. That's all, and I ain't got no more. Thank you so much for coming down here, listening to me, and letting me get this off my chest. Please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not already. And in the meantime, until next time, just like every time, I love you and I mean it. Bye.